Otherwise, this would just fly right off. So I'm gonna put this on. Because there's no cover, I can still access it. He wants the red needles, so we're actually gonna put the red needles on the car. So we're gonna go ahead and disassemble both clusters. I'm gonna speed run this. So clips. Come on. Josh said that basically everything got messed up, so I'm gonna go ahead and just replace everything for him. So now I'm gonna take this entire motor assembly out. You can do that by pushing on this stuff. So it looks like he's already done that to help me out. But what you do is you peel those pins back, just like that, and it comes out. Like that. So now this is ready. We're gonna keep this because his mileage is stored on this cluster. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and then save this. And I'm probably gonna give him this back cover because this is in better condition. I'm basically folding them up like this. Okay. So now comes the part that often gets messed up. What I'm gonna do is I wanna pull these out without pulling the metal shaft out. So I'm gonna take my pliers, or use needle nose. I'm gonna use pliers because it always works better for me. Just obviously don't put too much force, otherwise you're gonna break it. I'm gonna grab it right here, like that. Grab it, make sure I'm grabbing it hard. And you can see I can spin the needle with my pliers, right? So now I'm gonna grab this and twist. And I can feel the force of the needle come off, like that. So you wanna keep that metal shaft in there. The same thing with this. And make sure you're keeping the pliers away from the wires, like that. Grab it, twist. Just gonna shimmy it, and it comes off, just like that. And just like that, I basically have the motors free. So what I can do now, because I'm replacing both motors on Josh's cluster, I'm actually just gonna leave these here, and I'm gonna pull these off the same way. So as far as I know, Josh said these are messed up, but I'm gonna just do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab my pliers, hold it, and pull these out. Oh, here, you pull these out. Take this off. Like that. And I'm gonna toss this because it's broken. I'm just gonna put this on here. Ah, you see. See, so that's actually a noticeable difference. This peg is in a different spot. So that means I'm going to reuse this, but I'm gonna pull the motors out. And I actually do need to swap the motors. Oh yeah, it is. So you see here, this is what happened. This copper wire broke off from this peg. I'm gonna take a picture to log it, but this is a common failure for when people install it. That peg constantly does get damaged, and yeah, so that's a common issue to be wary of. If you ever have that happen, this is actually possible to fix. What you just do is you take this copper wire and you just resolder it back onto there, and this motor should work again. I'm not gonna bother doing that. Go ahead and take this one out. Yep, same issue here. Right here, and the copper is missing, and the same thing with this. So this motor would have also not worked. Cool, so now we're taking care of it. Now we know why that install failed. Okay, so now that's good. We've swapped the motors over, and we've also successfully diagnosed why the previous install failed. We're gonna go ahead now install the faces back on. Right here, like so. So these are gonna clip in, so these gauge faces do have holes specifically to clip in and hold it in place. And this is basically good. So this one's good. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back onto his cluster. Like that. I can take my same pliers and fold this over to make sure it stays in. I'm not gonna put the needles on yet because I wanna know which, if he wants a yellow or red. And now I'm gonna do the same thing with the fuel and temp. So fuel and temp, I'm going to pull the motors out like that. So fuel and temp is going to be a little different because these shafts do come out, and don't panic if they do. Like that. Just don't use too much force because you can accidentally break it if you're not careful. So, apart. This is his cluster. So we're gonna keep the motor. Well, no, we need to replace the motors, but we're gonna keep the housing because this is different than that one. Okay. So for this is a fresh cluster, so I'm gonna take the needles off for the first time. So the way I like to do it is you gotta be careful. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my pliers on one side, and notice I'm applying other way pressure, just like that. So I got lucky and it looks like the needle stayed in, which is actually not quite common. Oh, that does work. Okay, cool. So I guess we're gonna use the plier method for both. And that's just kind of the safer way to do it. So pliers on both, and that way the swap is nice and clean. If the needles do come out for the fuel and temp, typically it's not the end of the world. I've noticed that it actually seems to be okay. But for the sake of this updated tutorial, use pliers, make sure the needles stay in. Are these actually the exact same? It does look like these are actually the exact same. So I don't need to do the motor swap like last time. And we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go back in. Fold these over. And we're good. So I'm going to give him the not messed up back cover. And now we're going to take this over to our car and calibrate it. For the purpose of calibration, I'm actually going to take this clear cover off. And the reason why is because I want it to look somewhat presentable. Otherwise, this will just fly right off. So I'm going to put this on. Because there's no cover, I can still access it. He wants the red needles, so we're actually going to put the red needles on the car. Also, shit, I messed up. Before you do this, not a huge deal if you forget about it, but before you do this, take mental note of what your fuel level is, so that your fuel level is correct when you put it in. Otherwise, worst case scenario, just fill the car up and put it at full. You're gonna need a GPS or a buddy to do speed, and have an OBD2 reader to do RPM. So for calculating speed, we have Jared driving the car right now. We have the GPS set, and once he hits 40 miles an hour, we're going to put the needle in. So you're doing 39, 40. Okay, hold 40. See if it's good. Looks pretty good to me. So we're done. And we're gonna go ahead, drive around, make sure the speed's good, and put this cluster back together. And just like that, it's installed and looks gorgeous.
Do you want those custom mods? We do it for anything you try. You want your ride to turn heads. This is where it comes alive. If you can imagine it, we can create it. Nothing is impossible with illumaesthetic.